First Things First is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jen Wolf. Back where I should be, that's the Hall of Famer, Chris Carter. This right here is Nick Wright.
Good to have you back, Jenna.
Thank you. Very good to be back.
I know it was tough traveling, a lot of storms.
Boy, there's a lot of bad weather in the middle part of the country.
Jenna Wolf was out late last night.
I have to give kudos to a guy named Dwayne from Delta. He was one of the gate agents. He's a huge fan of the show, and because of him, I am back here today.
Oh, so you got celebrity treatment. Some other poor sap is
Dwayne, I appreciate it. Way to take care of my people. Anytime you see my people out there traveling, we need free stuff. We need upgrades. Jenna Wolf, Nick Wright, get it done.
There's somebody right now who slept overnight in Oklahoma City's airport. Like, but that was my ticket. Why the lady in work out here today?
I am glad I am back finally after all this preview. We got a game to talk about tonight. Big show today, so we'll talk about that. Rockets are considering blowing up their roster. Adam Silver confirmed that word too. Some of the drama surrounding the Lakers, but obviously we are going to start with tonight's big game one of the NBA Finals. Long awaited for the Warriors. 9 days since they last played. Much anticipated for the Raptors. 5 days since they last played. Warriors looking to win their third straight title. Raptors, their first ever. Warriors have a dynamic lineup, minus Kevin Durant, but tonight they'll go up against Kawhi Leonard, who was lights out in the conference finals. Raptors are big underdogs in this series, but that doesn't faze Kawhi.
Still between the lines. Playing 5-on-5 like I just told him. We're still playing basketball. We have a scheme. Just focus on that and don't focus on no outside attention. And, we know what we need to do. You're inside this locker room every day, so don't pay attention to people who are not in your locker room.
We understand the hoopla and the pandemonium around the finals and how different things are when it comes to just the schedule and the vibe. So we've seen a lot, and we'll be ready for it. It's just kind of got to get settled in, early. We know the crowd's going to be crazy, and for us, it's a great opportunity to go out and, just give her 110% and figure it out.
Nick, I'll start with you. There are a lot of layers to this series and this matchup, but let's just start with the basic. What is Toronto going to have to do to beat the Warriors in the finals?
In order for Toronto to win this series, they're going to have to abide by something I'm going to call the rule of 104. 104, Jenny, you know this is apparent. Kid's temperature gets to 104, you take him to the hospital.
That's it.
In the playoffs, if the Warriors score 104 points, you lose. They've played 99 playoff games in this run. So this will be their 100th playoff game, which is kind of remarkable in and of itself in this run. They're 65-9. 65-9 when they get 104 plus, when it's a high-scoring game. They are 10-15 if you hold them under that number. You cannot beat this team 121-118. You cannot say we're just going to play at your pace. We're going to play your style. We're going to trust our offense to go toe-to-toe with your offense. The Cleveland Cavaliers tried that in 2017 and lost in 5. The reason the only team to beat them in this run, the Cavs in 2016. What was the final score of that decisive Game 7 in Oracle? 93-89. You have to slow it down. You have to stifle them in the half court and keep them out of running in the full court in the transition. That is the biggest key of this series. There are a lot of other secondary and third keys that we will get to, but the biggest one is you've got to keep the Warriors in essentially double digits. If you do that, you win more often than you lose. If not, you win about 1 in 9 times. That will be the biggest key of this series and tonight's game for Toronto.
And CC, if there's any team that could do that, it's going to be a team as defensively savvy as the Toronto Raptors.
Right. That's the reason why they're in the finals. The reason why they're in the finals aren't the first 2 games of the series against Milwaukee. They are the last 4 games. And in those last 4 games, there were a couple things that did take place. We talked about Kawhi Leonard being switched over on to Giannis. There's not an adjustment that I believe that Toronto's going to make like that going into the finals, but they will make this adjustment. They slowed down the pace. The pace they made the Bucks play at would have been the slowest pace in the NBA by far during the regular season. So, Nick, to your point, this is how they got to the finals. If you don't think Nick Nurse and his coaching staff, one of his coaching assistants is one of the assistants that was in Cleveland, and when Cleveland came back from a 3-1 deficit, the one thing they controlled in that series, even when they were down, was the pace of the game. So pace has a lot to do with it when they have struggled, their overall experience. So how do the lack of experience, you talked about these Warriors as they exist, 100 playoff games. The Raptors, this is their 101 playoff game as a franchise. So lack of experience, a huge advantage. So how do I get that? Take advantage of the crowd. Let's play with a lot of emotion. People talk about the Raptors and their fan base being more like a college atmosphere. People's out there at Jurassic Park outside the stadium. Take advantage of that. And if you're going to take advantage, you must take advantage of the first half. One thing Portland did and how they stayed in the games, they outscored Golden State by 23 points in those first 4 games and before they got swept. Toronto, take advantage of the crowd. They need to get out to a nice lead because you know Golden State in that third quarter, they always make a big run.
And would you say take advantage of at least game 1 where you know Kevin Durant is not going to be there? You don't know his future for the rest of the series, but take advantage of a game without Kevin Durant.
Well, listen, I don't think the Raptors can win the series this weekend, long weekend in Toronto, but they can lose it. If they go down 0-2 in Toronto, it's over. At 1-1, they're fine. 2-0, they're feeling great. Like, to your point, and that's with or without Kevin Durant, even more to the case because I feel like we know KD is out for both games in Toronto. Steve Kerr said...
Even though he made the trip, he's probably not going to play.
Steve Kerr said yesterday, he's got to, exactly what Chris said, he has to get to basketball and then have a couple more days of contact. There's not enough days left on the calendar.
Yeah, there's a process. First the treatment, then you start exercise, then you're released for contact, and then you can start to practice.
Right.
They're not going to have any practices on Friday and Saturday. They're just going to have shoot-arounds. So then how do you get guys to run up and down the court with them? So, no, it's not enough time.
Even if he were released for contact today, he wouldn't have time to play Sunday. And he's not going to be released for contact today. So, of course, these opening 2 games are critical, and they're critical because in these 100 playoff games the Warriors have played in, or 100 as of tonight, there's only been 1 series they started on the road, and that was the Rockets series last year. It is unfamiliar territory for them to start on the road. But see, if any team is equipped personnel-wise to impose its defensive will on the Warriors, it's a team that has Kawhi Leonard, who has 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, Marc Gasol, who has a Defensive Player of the Year award, Danny Green, who's been on an all-defensive team, Serge Ibaka, who's been on all defensive teams, Pascal Siakam, who will be on an all-defensive team, and Kyle Lowry, who I feel like was snubbed a couple of years ago from an all-defensive team. The Raptors' top 6 is an all-defensive team in and of itself. That is what gives them the best chance anyone has had since Cleveland in 2016, in my eyes, to pull off what would be an epic upset.
That's what they're going to have to do, Nick. They have to be able to slow it down. Toronto doesn't have the personality, and I'm a little concerned about this, to make the game as ugly as the Clippers did. Now, they made the Milwaukee.
What do you mean ugly?
Ugly as if a little chippy.
Physical,
yes, I'm physical in the sense that they would question it to be able to get up under the skin. I don't think Kawhi, Kyle Lowry, the other players, Serge Ibaka is one to watch. Him and Draymond Green. Serge Ibaka is one to watch anytime he's on the court. So I just think with their fundamentals, how they play defensively, and they have to get out to an amazing start. They got to make that crowd feel like they're bringing a world championship to be able to keep them in the game. No one's more equipped, though, for that. 100 games of experience in the playoffs by the Warriors.
Again, a lot of layers here. What it means if Boogie comes back. We'll talk much more about Kevin Durant. But coming up on the other side, more basketball, different team. Are the Rockets ready to blow up their entire roster? That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on Sirius XM. We'll be right back.